All right. Sorry, everybody. I wasn't forgot to actually enter in my Discord room. But welcome to a early morning stream. It is currently 7:02 a.m. where I am. For some of you, it's probably like 6, 5, 4 in the morning. For others, depending on where you live at in the world, it's probably 8, 9, and 10 a.m. in the morning. So wherever you are, good morning, because at least I did it in such a perfect time. It is still morning for you. Unless if you live in Alaska or Hawaii, I think they're 6 hours behind me. So it is like currently 1 a.m. their time. So I guess that's still good morning. And if you're 6 hours ahead, I think it's like that would be 1 p.m. So afternoon. All right. I just said I just said good morning and afternoon and holy crap, okay? So we got it good. All right, so what is today's stream going to be about? Well, this is a workshop video, everybody, except we're not going to do our usual workshop. We're going to be doing a little bit different. We're just going to sit here and have a discussion today, and we'll see how long this goes. I want to discuss to you my types of non-player characters. How many types exist of NPCs? And I'm doing this because I am posting certain things regarding certain definitions, and I'm using these types on my current Discord, and you may hear me talk about them. So, for most, there's probably, for most games, there's probably 3 different types or 4 different types of NPCs. To me, there is 6. And after the stream, you know, I want everyone to hear me out. But after the stream, I want you to decide for yourself. Me, I had a hard time deciding how many there was throughout my years of gaming. You know, because there are different types of NPCs. There's not just one type. There is different types. Each type serving its own purpose as you create it as the game master. Now, as my time has gone on, I have decided that I'm going to use probably 6 different types of NPCs based on the games that I play. Now, I do run Castles and Crusades, and I do run Cyberpunk, both 2020, and I'm actually going to run, I ran Cyberpunk Red in the past. Hopefully, I'll run it again. Definitely going to run it again for coming up for next year. So, let's begin to move on with like 6 different types of non-player characters. Some of these are kind of marked as my own personal favorites. I will let you guys know. For game masters all the way around, you know, if you want, take some notes. If this is stuff that you probably thought about but never thought about breaking down, feel free to take some notes, definitely. If you don't agree with me, that's okay. You can leave your comments in the chat. Just please be friendly. We can definitely have a debate. which I'm more than happy to do. But I'm pretty much non-movable on the subject here. Some of these could actually probably be overlapped, depending, but I kind of like what I have here in my breakdown scenario. So let's begin. All right. So we're going to move on to my first type of NPCs, which I don't have any freeze frames up here for you. I wish I did, but I don't. All right. So my first type of RPCs are, as I like to call them, cardboard cutouts. I heard that term in 2010, I believe it is, or no, 2011. I heard that term watching, I believe, The Gamers 2 Darkness Rising by Nathan Rice, who was actually playing as a GM in that movie. And he says, as everyone knows, my NPCs are cardboard cutouts. What is a cardboard cutout NPC? Well, NPCs serve, like player characters, they serve 2 points of things. They serve a story element, and they have game mechanics behind them. Jack McCarthy, good morning, sir. I hope you're enjoying some coffee. I am as well, and I'm currently drinking it. So, cardboard cutout NPCs. This is actually one of my personal favorites, and I use this a lot. And I will actually serve some examples about how I use these. I'm enjoying some coffee and selling into my workday. Nice. Selling or settling? I get what you meant. Alright, so story. So what kind of story elements do cardboard cutout non-player characters serve? Generally, they are nameless. They serve one purpose in one scene, regardless what they do. It doesn't matter. They are generally also designated by the role/profession, such as farmer, blacksmith, animal trainer, or even tavern keeper, or even maybe the bar wench that somebody actually seduces into the room and has a fun night of fun with them. They generally don't have much of a personality, as the GM doesn't play them very much and may only serve that purpose for that scene only. They do not generally extend beyond that one scene or that one moment in time in the game. They virtually have no backstory whatsoever, and as I've stated before, only serves one of two purposes: to be an obstacle or to be a decoration. They're just generally background characters that actually just sit there and do a whole lot of nothing. But when you need to get someone up pretty quick because frickin' one of your player characters wants to seduce someone, or wants to meet someone, or someone that's not really important, or just wants to play a game of poker, as we all love in those famous westerns, or if you personally like the Mel Gibson movie, which I haven't seen in a while, known as Maverick, this is definitely what a cardboard cutout is. It's just someone who sits in the background and is a pawn to the game master. The game master virtually has no game stats for them, and if they do come up with anything, it's generally the lowest stats possible that they can just come up on the fly. They have only applicable skills that make sense, which generally are none, and they only have gear if it makes sense, which is generally also none other than the clothes on their back and maybe a little bit of coin that you can take from them just to give your player characters something to do. They're considered to be level 0 characters on a level-based system, game system, or they just generally don't have, or if it's a point-buy system like in Cyberpunk 2020 in Red, they're generally at the lowest points you can give them, which is 9 points. 9 points for 9 attributes, 1 point per attribute, which is the lowest of the low. Anything other than that, they do not exist. They generally are in large groups or by themselves, depending on the purpose that they serve. They don't generally move into large groups unless it makes perfect sense, such as someone is firing a gun into a large crowd, or someone's firing arrows into a large crowd, or there's a large crowd of people that you gotta save, is the only purpose that cardboard cutouts really serve. They are known as cannon fodder, or victims, or whatever else. If you don't like any of my terms, I do apologize. I hope these are non-triggering moments. And if they are triggering moments, I do apologize, but that's just life. Triggered. Ironcaster triggered. Alright, so cardboard cutouts are generally exactly as you guys see them. They're just there. These are my most favorite ones to use because lately I've actually been using them in a lot of cyberpunk games that I play. They're generally citizens. Or if you've never known that cyberpunk is a TTRPG and you play 2077, let me tell you something. These are the characters that you just see people roaming the streets with a whole lot of jack shit to do other than, what? I don't want to talk to you right now. What? I don't want to talk to you right now. Or, morning. Good day for fishing, ain't it? And then that's all they say. Let's move on to the second type of NPCs that there is. There is something called the Mook. Generally, they're nameless. They have no personalities. They're considered to be obstacle for players. Generally, they are monsters such as kobolds or goblins with no virtual backstory, and you cannot really do much with them. They're just there to attack. That's their story elements. Their game mechanics are based on the stats that are designed depending on the game system. Only has applicable skills, treasure, and gear for the player characters. Generally, they are level 1, depending on the level of the adventure, or they just are at really low points. They are in small to large groups. They don't normally go solo, but if you need a mook to go solo, good luck with that. They're not there for the game master to really act with. They are just there like pawns on a chessboard. Serves very, very, very little purposes. I believe they serve less of a purpose than cardboard cutouts at times, but then again, cardboard cutouts don't really have really good combat skills at all because they're not supposed to. So, no, they have some combat skills, but that's all the combat skills that they have. That's all the skills. So, they're the next step up from a cardboard cutout, and then the mook. To think of it different, think of the mook as a pawn on a chessboard. It's the weakest piece ever, and the cardboard cutout, think of that Zachary Quinto Spock cardboard cutout you wanted, but then instead you wanted the Leonard Nimoy one. That's basically all they are. They are what the cardboard cutouts are. Me, personally, I love all of Star Trek, and Zachary Quinto and Leonard Nimoy, my two favorite Spocks. Of course, they've been the only... Wait, have they been the only Spocks? No, there was a different Spock in Discovery. But for everyone who has played Spock... Yeah, okay. Anyway, moving on. I was going to make a Big Bang Theory joke, but lost my train of thought on that one. But yeah, like, think of cardboard cutouts as exactly they are. They are a decoration. All right. And just a bit, and basically based on your personal preference. All right. Mooks are a little bit different. Like I said, they are pawns that you can actually move across the chessboard. Which moves me to my third type of NPCs. And then Jack's got it right. Non-combatant versus combatant. Yeah, who's going to win? Generally, the mooks would attack the cardboard cutout characters. But yet not strong enough to defeat the party. They are generally obstacles where it's kind of like XP farming, as I would explain it. Alright, so the third type of NPCs is the hench. They're generally named. They do have a personality based on the purpose that the hench serves. They do have a backstory that makes sense. They may serve multiple purposes, such as the NPC that you're supposed to meet that is supposed to travel with you as a tour guide. Of course, you're going to give a hench, short for henchman or henchwoman, depending on how it is. You're going to give a hench, basically, a purpose. Whether it's just to be there, maybe find out some story elements. Generally, whatever. They're kind of like just background characters, or they can be supporting characters. It depends on what purpose they are to serve. Are they carrying the stuff for the PCs? Are they going to be an obstacle for the PCs? Is it going to be a reoccurring character that the PCs encounter? That's what you really need to concern yourselves with. If it's an obstacle, but if you want it to be a hench versus a mook, the best thing to say is that they will probably be named and a recurring character that the characters would be. This is basically Flash from Spider-Man. Flash was, I cannot remember his last name, but Flash Thompson, I believe it was Peter Parker's bully. And generally, he did not stand up against Peter Parker when he was in high school, but at times he would just be there. That would be the perfect example of a hench. He's named, he serves a purpose, he's Peter Parker's bully. Eventually, he does become either an ally or enemy of Peter Parker, but that means that the hench has evolved into something much better than just a hench. Their game stats are designed based on the game system. They only have, of course, applicable skills, treasure, and gear based on the level and the purpose that they serve. This, once again, can be anywhere from first level on up, depending on the level of adventure, and are only in small groups or solo by themselves. They are kind of like similar to mooks, only they're supposed to just be just a tiny bit better. Like, they're actually supposed to have somewhat of a backstory. Something that's, it doesn't have to be like a huge historic backstory, but something recent at the very least. Like, a year ago, I lost my family in a house fire, whatever, something like that. They're generally, like I said, background to supporting characters based on the GM's discretion of how they want to use a hench. Alright, I hope you guys are keeping up so far, because we have 3 more of these to get. Like I said, I believe there is 6 NPC types. But this is not official information. This is just information based on my opinion. I want everyone else to draw their own. Alright, so the next one is a minion. So a minion type NPC can be named or nameless. It does have a personality that is limited to their purpose. What are they? Are they going to be an obstacle? Are they going to be a background character? Are they going to be something important? They can actually serve as supporting characters more than just background. They do generally have no backstory, but could have a small one based on what is currently in the adventure. Minions are generally those that are actually named or nameless that is probably at the beginning of the adventure. For instance, for some of you guys that read modules, like the old D&D modules, in some cases you do come up against a few types of NPCs that are named, but they only serve a purpose at the very beginning of the module, and then after that they drop off the story. As I stated, they only serve one purpose, usually as obstacles, but they can actually serve another purpose as a bit of having some information. It's just based on where you guys want to go. What changes a minion from the previous ones is basically they're not pawns to just be moved across the chessboard if they're an obstacle, or they're not an NPC that someone can just write down and go, okay, well, they're nameless. They do have a name. His name is Willem. Anyway, their game stats are designed depending on the game system, whether it's point buy or if it's level based. They only do have applicable skills. They may or may not have gear or treasure based on level. I separate the minions from the rest of the NPCs as someone that is more flexible and as a character that can become important later on in the game. Granted, if it becomes a more higher character than a mere minion, it would become a supporting character at the very most, or very least even. Minions are, I think, a personal favorite of mine. Some of these things do overlap with the previous ones that we have spoken about. Like I said, changes from each type of NPC on is very, very minimal in some cases. But I leave that up for you guys to decide. Minions are usually in small groups to above average party size level, or they're basically solo, based on what the GM would rather use them for. There are two, according to Jack McCarthy, there are 2 types of NPCs, dead ones and the ones that PCs haven't met yet. Well, that sounds like a horrible group, but okay. So then these are characters, the minions are generally, like I said, Oh, God. I'm losing my train of thought again. Need some more coffee. What makes a minion different from a cardboard cutout is that they may be named. What changes them from a mook or a henchman is the fact that they are actually probably a little bit more powerful than any of them. They could be essentially the police or the guards in the game that actually keeps your players under control. For instance, what a minion might do is stop the NPCs from breaking the laws and burning down the entire town without any fear of consequence. These characters actually show up when consequence is to be expected. I like how 4E introduced minions. Me too. I did like that. And the first time I actually, you know what? I'm going to stop right there real quick. When I came across the minion term, like I knew cardboard cutout before I knew minion. And then I actually knew mook before that. So minion actually, I believe, came from, if I'm not mistaken, either Cyberpunk Red or it came from, I'm trying to think, Cyberpunk Red, or it came from Fate Core for me. I know mook was also Cyberpunk Red. I think it was minion, mook, and then main. And then Fate Core, they did nameless, supporting, and then main. But we'll get to that in a minute. Minions are generally the rooks. If you like chess pieces reference, I would say they are either the rooks or the knights or the bishops. Something you will have one or two, as a GM, you'd have one or two just up your sleeve for something to just toss in to make your PC's life either better or hard, depending on what you do. They generally would have a profession, and like I said, they would have a little bit of a personality. Not much of a backstory, though. For instance, the owner of the tavern. The owner of any establishment would not generally be a cardboard cutout, a hench, or a minion, or a mook. They would generally be a minion. It would be something that would be reoccurring through each and every session of the character's game. And if you're not in that town, then they wouldn't be that much reoccurring, but they would be reoccurring every time they visit. And we are at our fifth one, support. Story element wise, they are named. They have their own personality that fits the story. They have a backstory that fits the story. They could be important, but they don't have to be. And they serve multiple purposes for the games of the GMs. This is a little bit different than a minion. This is definitely a lot more, they're generally a lot more powerful professions out there, such as mayor or king or queen. Someone who just doesn't come into the story all the time, but someone of high importance of status. Their game stats are designed based on the system. Generally, their creation follows the rules on character creation for that system, but certain ones may be omitted to keep information limited, and for that way the GM to come up with something a person of very good. They're generally there for looks. Thanks for streaming so early, Junk. You are keeping me in good company at work. Oh, I'm glad. They are there for basically looks. They're not generally combatants, but they can serve those purposes as well. They are given skills like normal PCs. Of course, certain ones may be omitted depending on what their purpose is. They can be, of course, any level. They generally are solo, but they don't have to be. It's basically a nice character for the GM to have in case he didn't want to make up one of his own. Now, before we go to the final one, which is my personal favorite, what does a supporting character serve? Well, they could also be the main villain. They don't have to, but they don't have to be filled out completely like a normal character sheet. However, they can be. It's all up to you. As a GM, you have to decide for yourself. So, let's move on to the final one, because this one I think I've shared 3 personal favorites. Cardboard cutouts, minions. Supporting is another personal favorite of mine, but if I had to choose only 3, unfortunately support NPCs do not make the cut. But this one does, because I do this quite a bit. The final NPC is a main NPC. It follows as such. They are named characters with a backstory, personality. They are very important. They generally are boss fights, but they are the game master's personal character in the story. It is the game master personifying what character they would like to play to be an obstacle against the NPC, against the player characters. Sometimes I make allies. I have two main characters in Castle Crusades. I have the villain's character, or as Jack McCarthy says, the antagonist, and I do have a character with the player characters, an ally for them. As far as game mechanics wise, they are created like normal PCs for characters. They are given full flesh gear and treasure, and once again, it is the game master's personal character for their story. They serve a high purpose. It's the highest purpose that anyone can serve in any game. Is the main NPC, known as main. So, what was the purpose of this workshop? Well, let me explain. I shared with you guys my notes on how I deal with NPCs. I have 6 types. I have, do I use all 6 types in all the games I use? Not necessarily. The ones that I do come in, oh, excuse me. Whoa. Sorry. It's getting cold where I am. Another example is the Nemesis, an opponent or adversary of equal power and capability, but not necessarily evil or an enemy. That would be supporting so that would be supporting character or main character. The Nemesis and the adversary, which is also used in Genesis Core quite a bit. Learn that from the Star Wars Edge of the Empire game. So my thing is for you to take from this is, do you agree that all of these types have been separately used? Me, I played a lot more games than most people in my short run of gaming. Not everybody uses all the same ones, but my personal favorites, once again, that I use all the time are cardboard cutouts, support, and main. Let me think. Have I ever used a mook before? Mook and a hench? Technically, yes. I've used... Okay, so cardboard cutouts I have used just to throw something in there because the player characters want to do something. I've used that. Now, have I used a hench separately from a cardboard cutout? To answer your question, yes, I have too. Which is why I separated these two. Because technically, a cardboard cutout, a mook, and a hench could all be under one umbrella. But I've actually had that issue where I've had characters that were not meant to be served for anything but then a mere issue. For references to this, you could probably more than likely check out my early videos of Castles and Crusades, where I actually had my players go up against 4 guys who had a map. Their purpose was they had a map. They were an obstacle. However, the characters have proved that they were nothing more than a mere decoration after one of them accidentally killed them. And it was a complete accident, too. They were doing some bull riding while drinking. And mind you, the dwarf won. I just been handed something. Oh, and it's actual real coffee. Holy crap. All right, give me 1 second. I've been drinking some fake coffee here. Now I'm drinking some real coffee. Ooh, energy. Need coffee. All right. Ooh. So the cardboard cutout part was they were just supposed to. Good morning, Mrs. TT. Yep. She was the one who handed me the coffee. She just got back from dropping the kids off from school. As I'm doing the stream. So I know she was listening in before she got here. All right. The cardboard cutout part was the fact that these characters had no stats. Literally, and they probably only had, at the very base, literally probably 1 hit point. They weren't supposed to last. They honestly, they didn't even have any skills. That's the cardboard cutout part. With Mook and Hinch, they're supposed to have some applicable skills. Like, for instance, they could have had a decent wisdom to have a good perception, but they didn't. And they were only really, like, level 1, but they were really level 0. And they didn't survive very easily. I think, actually, they were actually Mooks. But they didn't have any applicable skills. They didn't really have any good gear or treasure based on anything. No other backstories. The only thing they served was steal a map from. Again, that could have been easily argued. Okay, so cardboard cutouts, like I said, the one I find myself most commonly using quite a bit. I even used it recently in a Cyberpunk 2020 game that I played a few months ago. A lot of the citizens, they were getting, the group was getting citizens together for a rock concert, and they were actually trying to get them ready to come to the Badland races for the Nomad clans because they were helping them out for extra cash. Generally, they were broke. Alright. And I use support and main characters all the freaking time. You always have those bad guys. You got to put, you always got that villain. The one that's pulling on the strings. That is the Puppet Master. That could either be a supporting character or a main type of NPC. But yeah, I use those all the time. So I guess the ones that you guys got to use yourselves for, ask yourselves, did you ever use a Mook, a Hinch, or a Minion? Let me think about that. Let's see. Based on what I wrote down here, I have used a Mook before. I have used a character that was not level 0 and literally had 1 or 2 skills. I have used a Hinch because I had more than 2 skills. And then we have Minions, which only have applicable skills. But I have used them too. Because if you play Castles and Crusades or D&D, you got them. I've used them all, as you described. Yeah, I think I have too. That's why I have 6 of them written down in the notes. And that's why I'm doing this workshop. Like I said, do you agree that there are 6 different NPC types, or is there less? If you agree, rather if you agree or not, those are my types, and I am just spreading my knowledge of gaming knowledge onto everybody else. Or basically my, do you tease the main from early in the campaign? I will often wait to reveal it later as the PCs move up the food chain. Yeah, that's what I do that too. I don't actually tease the main. I find out that if you do that, they try to go after the main NPC right from the get-go, and then when they die, they kind of end up being poor sportsmen in gaming. So yeah, I try to just steer away from that one. I do try to reveal that there is something force higher than what they've realized and higher than something they've seen before. Like right now, in Castles and Crusades, they are actually, the force that they've been actually dealing with is that they don't know who's leading the crusades against the religious crusades against the rest of the continent of Aberdeen. If you ever seen any of my Castles and Crusades videos, they came across a lot of clerics. So there is a religious crusade going on, but they don't know that yet. And if any of them are currently watching this video, they now do know of that. Well, I guess there was a spoiler alert in this, but it happens. It happens. Yeah, like I said, there's much more going on. Alright, well, that's everything I have for this morning. I've actually stretched this out to be a 35-minute video. Maybe we will, maybe when I do another video, we'll just look into, I'll show you some of my collected works of NPCs, and we'll classify them, and maybe I'll have, set up a board or whatnot, and we can actually just rank them. Yeah, you said that on purpose. Now it will all be different. Well, I did kind of tell them I'm going to be writing a adventure module based on the First Crusade, because in Paramore it is early on in its lifespan. So they're only in the first stage. So, but anyway, all right, everybody. For those who joined in, thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I will probably definitely do another workshop video. Probably not today, but sometime this week. So, other than that, for those who joined in, thank you so much. Jack McCarthy, love you. Mrs. Tabletop, of course, and I know she's always here. Have a great day, you crazy kids. Oh, yeah, I will try. I will try. And for everyone, remember to always work hard, play hard, game hard. Game on, everybody. Have a great and wonderful day.